your topic. As in, probably for the most part in your PhD or your research, doesn't have to be. So I talk about my PhD thesis, but that's not the only way to do research, right? You could do research without having a formal academic position. You could be working in a lab of some kind without pursuing a degree, right? So I'm just talking about my experience here, but there are people who do research that are not in an academic position. They might just be working in a lab or even in a university and not actually getting a degree, you know? So it's up to you. But basically, in research, you start really broad. You learn about everything in that field, and then you also learn about everything in the subfield, and by learn, I mean it's kind of a literature review. Basically, when you learn about the field, it's a literature review, then the subfield literature review, then the subfield literature review, and then you get into the really narrow part, which is your work, your focus, your topic, and there you are producing the literature, because that literature does not exist yet. So you have to do the work and progress the field or the subfield, and that's basically what is expected in academic type of research or in any kind of research, really, where you have now pushed the boundary of knowledge in that particular little focus and added new information. But you always start really broad, and you do the literature review of the field and the subfield and the subfield. You know, that's why when I started this talk, I mentioned about all the different cosmic messengers and all these different things. Why? Because that's how you're supposed to start. You mention everybody and you acknowledge everybody and you give everyone credit, or they get very mad. So partly it's also the ethics of it. You're ethically expected to give credit to everyone, and then you can talk about you. Appreciate the information. Is it 6 years after high school? It's more like 6 years after your bachelor's. So first you do high school, finish it, then you do 4 years of college. You need a bachelor's degree usually to get into a PhD program. So it's more like 10 years after high school. Like, I finished high school and then I was in school for 9 years to get my PhD, including the bachelor's. So it's like high school, then 4 years of college, and then I did 5 years of a PhD program. So 9 years. And the people who take 6 years, 7 years, it's +4 for the whole thing. And then generally people also do postdocs. My postdocs were more sort of in industry, where I applied my physics background in certain jobs that utilized the background, but the jobs weren't always academic in nature. Some people mention postdoctoral research. They call it postdoc if it is academic. If it's not purely academic, then even though it's a postdoctoral thing, you don't really call it a postdoc. So, okay, so far I still haven't really told you anything specific. That's because the general information is very important. So now we'll get started. Exciting. No, first I will take some sips of my tea. Sorry. I need to clear my throat here. I'm looking at my screen here because that's where my thesis is. Whoops. So does that make sense? Crazy sick wine, what I just said about